Hello, good people. Eber here with Hardware Canucks, and I'm here in Mike's house in Montreal, and we're actually working on a fun little project. I really want to thank him for inviting me over here to work on it and help him out with that. But as you're probably aware of the title of this video, it is build related, and it's an exciting one. So why don't we invite Mike here to talk about a little bit more about that and his experience, and of course, just see how things are. Michael.
So the last time you saw me was actually probably sleeping on the couch at Computex.
Yes, I'll make sure to leave that, or probably
the link is up here
somewhere over there. But how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. We want to get this build underway. So,
yes. Yeah. So what has been your history like for your PCs? Like, what are you primarily using as your main system?
The history of Hardware Canucks is that I do a lot of the testing behind the scenes.
Okay.
And then sometimes I give the results to you. Sometimes we give them to Dimitri. That means I have a lot of test systems here.
Yeah.
And I'm a practical guy. So I end up using the test systems as my own personal system.
Okay.
Where I work as an architect on a contract basis as well. So what ends up happening, if something goes wrong with that system, I sometimes lose my project. I lose time that I'm spending on a different professional career as I do the testing. Yeah. So I wanted to get away from that, but I also wanted to sort of give us a little bit of a challenge to see how we could put together a relatively compact, high-performance system for myself with components that I want to carry over from my personal test system, and also make sure that it's high-powered enough that I'm covered for both the professional and gaming life that I also lead.
Yeah, because he does game too, so just in case if you didn't know.
When I have time.
When you have the time. So, why don't we take a look at the parts in the components list right after this.
Hello, I'm looking for some fans.
Well, are you married?
Yeah, I have a ring.
What is your favorite number?
I would say 3.
Do I have the perfect fan for you?
This is the new Thermaltake Ring Trio 12 fans with good static pressure for radiators. It is a beautiful frame with double side and center ring illumination with soft and super bright spill with Razer Chroma compatibility. Control it through your smartphone, the RGB Plus software on the PC, or Amazon Alexa.
Well, I'm gonna take these home. Perhaps you should too. Check them out in the description below.
Okay, so let's now go over the components for this build, starting off with the CPU. So for that, we decided to go with the Core i9-9980XE, the most expensive CPU that Intel can offer for the enthusiast platform. So Mike, can you explain to me why you decided to go with the CPU?
Well, for me, the decision was easy because we had it on hand from testing.
Okay.
Let's be honest, we don't recommend this i9 processor for gamers or even for enthusiasts because with the soldered TIM, it actually gets hotter under overclocking. So the amount of headroom is really limited. But for my use, so where I need a ton of threads, a ton of cores, is in my rendering, so in the professional side. So with that 36 threads, I'm ripping through renders, in some cases even faster than CUDA can accomplish them. For example, in V-Ray and in Blender as well, at least in some areas, I'm actually seeing better performance with this CPU than I am with an RTX series card.
Wow.
So the other thing that I really wanted to do, and I'm a little bit disappointed that I couldn't, is use Threadripper. I was hoping that ASRock at some point in time they would do something crazy and release a Threadripper ITX board.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen because the socket by itself takes the entire board. So
Exactly, we were looking into that.
Yeah.
So I guess that leads us to the motherboard.
We decided to go with ASRock's X299 ITX, and this is a really interesting motherboard just for the fact that it's ITX and it's X299, but it's the features that this board packs. So for starters, it's got 3 M.2 NVMe slots, which are PCI Gen 3, 2 of which are located on the back, and then you have another one that's kind of located in it's a DIMM kind of.
It's a DIMM slot application.
Right.
It looks like a DIMM.
It looks like a DIMM, so it just pops into the motherboard, and you've got 6 SATA 6 gigabits per second ports. It's got support for quad channel memory. The only drawback for that is that it can only support SOTA memory, and if you look at SOTA memory prices, it's ridiculously expensive.
We didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
Because this ASRock board is the only X299 ITX board on the market
That's right. That's right. So the next thing I want to talk about is VRMs, because obviously we are planning on doing a little bit of overclocking to see if the VRMs are capable of doing that. But it's going to be interesting to see how cooling takes place, or just how well this board can handle an 18-core monster. Now, speaking of memory, we chose G-Skill's RipJaws SODIMM Quad Channel Memory Kit clocked at 3800 MHz. It's pretty fast for its size. Moving on to the GPU.
RTX 2080 Ti. I know it's an RTX series card, but it is also the fastest card on the market. And from a personal perspective, I have found not only does it play games at super high frame rates, but the extra CUDA cores over the GTX 1080 Ti really do help with certain applications that I use on a daily basis to do rendering.
Not to mention, if you're using programs like Octane, those CUDA cores can come in really beneficial. But you had plans to go with another RTX card to compensate for that green logo. So what did you...
So I really wanted to use this. So Gigabyte sent this over a couple weeks ago. We are going to do a review on it. And this is the RTX 2080 Ti from Aorus. It's massive. I don't know if this is actually going to fit in the case that I chose. So speaking of the case, Eber, you like this case.
I love this case. It's the NZXT H200 mini-itx case. It's just compact, it's minimalistic, it's simple. Is cute a good word to use?
I don't think so. But there were a couple of comments that we got when we posted a picture of this case on both Twitter and on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's an M-ATX size case. Why are you using this for an ITX system? And the reason for that is pretty simple. We wanted to maximize airflow, and there's so few ITX cases on the market right now that can allow for dual 120 millimeter intake fans and also 120 millimeter top and exhaust fans. So because of the amount of power that we're putting into this case, I wanted to make sure that there was adequate airflow. So to balance the size versus airflow, this is what I went with. Plus, it's that really nice black and blue color that I wanted.
Yeah. Now, you talked about carrying over some components from your test bench towards your main workstation PC.
Yeah.
What exactly are those?
So there's a couple things. The first thing that I really wanted to look at was storage. I didn't see the need to update my storage solution. I just wanted to bring it over. It's already on an X299 system right now. So there was the Samsung 960 512 gigabyte that I ended up bringing over. And there was also, it's a little bit of an older drive, but the Intel 730 series SSD, 480 gigabytes. Those are also probably going to be the first things that I'm going to update, not necessarily on the OS drive, but on my Steam library drive, I'm probably going to start needing more space. Right. There's also the Corsair AX 1200 watt power supply, which I'm not sure is going to fit in this case. Technically, according to NZXT, it will, but it's an extremely large power supply.
Yeah.
But it is 1200 watts, which is a little bit of overkill. But I had it on hand.
Yeah.
It's 80 plus gold. I didn't see a need to update it, so we're going to try to make it fit.
Yeah.
If not, we're sort of screwed because we don't have another power supply.
That's right. All right, I think the last thing to cover here is, of course, the cooling solution for the processor. So we decided to go with an AIO cooler from NZXT. It's the X52 to 40mm cooling solution. We're going to experiment on this thing. So we're going to go with an AIO cooler, see what the temperatures are like, and if we're not happy with it, we will definitely switch to an air cooler and see if that actually improves, which I'm sure would be interesting to look at.
Or possibly a custom loop sometime in the future.
Possibly a custom loop sometime in the future. So let's get to building, man.
Let's do it.
All right, guys, so here is the final build. As you can see, it looks absolutely beautiful and cute. I mean, look at how small that thing is. It's just, I want one so bad now. But anyways, like, what are your thoughts on this build? Are you happy with the way how it turned out?
It was a challenge. It was probably the most challenging build, and that's what we wanted to do, right?
Yeah,
we wanted to give ourselves a challenge.
Yeah. The board's challenge was actually connecting those cables, because given how small the motherboard is, and ASRock obviously had to make some compromises when it comes to placing those, fan headers and stuff like that. It was really difficult. I mean, my hands wouldn't work because I have big hands, but we needed Mike's hands to reach those little spots there to connect those cables. So
all I wanted was a simple look with maybe a couple little splashes of that blue color that I love so much. And in addition to that, we had some problems with the amount of fans that we're running in here. So we're running 4 fans.
That's right.
And there wasn't enough headers on the ASRock motherboard for that. So we need to use 1 fan splitter. I know at the beginning of the video that we actually said that we would be using the Founders Edition.
That's right.
But I did try to fit this into the case. And because of the proximity between that ITX PCIe slot and where the power supply shroud is, this thing wouldn't fit because it is higher than 3 slots. It's almost like 3.25 slots.
Yeah, and that's just not going to cut it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to mention also on the H200 case, if you want to do a 2.5 slot graphics card, that causes a problem too. Because it's so close to that shroud, it's just going to completely choke it out.
Yeah.
So we ended up going with the Founders Edition because from a 2080 Ti perspective, it's actually the slimmest card out there. It's only 2 slots.
All right. So should we get into performance?
Performance and acoustics.
And acoustics. Now moving on to temperatures, we were both expecting them to be much higher than this, especially during a hybrid CPU and GPU render in V-Ray, which really stresses the entire system. Even the acoustics under load were really good at around 39 decibels where Mike sits. And as for overclocking, we were only able to achieve around 200 megahertz higher since the temperatures on the VRMs and CPU core became a problem, so we reverted back to Intel stock settings. So now that you've taken a look at the benchmarks, I think it's time to wrap up our thoughts on this build. So, Michael, what are your final thoughts? I mean, what's the next evolution to this build?
So first of all, as we were running the benchmarks and I was using a couple of programs that I use on a daily basis and gaming, I realized that it's actually a little bit more than I need.
Yeah.
So the next couple of steps, I do need to upgrade my storage game, especially as we get into 4K, more 4K and 8K video rendering. I get into high resolution projects on a rendering basis, and these game files keep on getting bigger and bigger. So I'm going to start looking into that. I've got a couple of ideas, primarily because we set it up to look this way, but the Intel 730 with the little skull look on there,
Yeah.
I thought it was going to look relatively cool.
But
it needs to move.
It takes away from the whole blue and black color scheme.
Improve your workflow with Stream Deck Mini by Elgato, giving you 6 fully customizable LCD keys for macro commands, hotkeys, app launches, media control, and a full array of customization for OBS, Twitch, XSplit, and more. Check out the Stream Deck Mini down below.
So that pretty much wraps up this build. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments down below what you think about this build. In fact, if you're planning out an ITX system, what will be the configuration like? I'd love to know your thoughts as well. I'm Eber.
I'm Mike.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to check out some relevant content over here. Subscribe to our Boot Sequence channel. And we'll see you in the next one.